Today we are going to be looking at line and one-point perspective. The objective of today's lesson is to be able to identify a horizon line and vanishing point, learn basic terms used in perspective, understand reasons artists use perspective in their work, as well as to begin to create a cityscape using one-point perspective. In art, there tends to be a focal point, so an area that attracts the viewer's eye is the area of interest. The element of line is often used in order to attract the viewer's eye. As you can see in this painting, all of the lines seem to converge to a particular point in the painting, which draws the viewer's eye, making that the focal point of the painting. What is line? A line is a form with width and length, but no depth. It can be used to direct the viewer's attention, create the illusion of movement, and create depth in space. Artists also use lines to create contours and edges, which are the outlines of objects. There are three main directions for lines: vertical, horizontal, diagonal, and at times which are referred to as oblique lines. Line is often used in perspective, which is drawing objects on a two-dimensional surface, making them appear to be three-dimensional, as if possessing depth, width, and height. Why artists use perspective? The main reason is to show three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional plane, similar to a paper or a canvas, to create space in their art, and to show things further away or smaller than things that are closer to the viewer. The horizon line is a real or implied horizontal line where water and land seem to end and the sky begins. It represents the viewer's eye level. Horizon lines needn't be in the middle of the page, as you can see in the example here. The horizon line is located near the top of the painting. Or as well, horizon lines needn't be straight, as you can see in the example of Van Gogh's painting. The horizon line follows the river. You can see the top of an object if it is below eye level or below the horizon line. If an object is above eye level, above the horizon line, you cannot see its top, which is the case for the 4-drawer filing cabinet. A vanishing point is an imaginary place on the horizon line where parallel lines seem to meet. As you can see, both the railroad tracks as well as the street seem to converge to a point in the distance, thus creating perspective. Items seem to get smaller and closer together as they approach the vanishing point. As you can see, the light posts down the road seem to be much smaller in comparison to the ones in the foreground. Artists have been incorporating perspective using this technique for many, many years. As you can see in Raphael's The School of Athens, he has used a vanishing point to converge all of the particular items in the painting to that point, creating a focal point for the painting. Again, another very popular painting as well, perspective is quite evident, as is the use of a vanishing point. The diagonal lines that seem to converge to the vanishing point are called orthogonals. Orthogonals are very useful when you are drawing perspective, as it allows you to create the appropriate perspective that you are aiming for. In this case, some of the orthogonals can also be incorporated into the painting themselves, as the diagonal lines in this painting were then transformed into the sidewalk lines that you see. Today we are going to be learning how to draw a cityscape using one-point perspective. For this exercise, you will need some drawing paper, a sharp pencil, an eraser, and a ruler. Having your page using a landscape formation, you are going to use a ruler to draw a horizon line across the page. Try and do so lightly, as it will be erased as the drawing progresses. As well, you are to mark a vanishing point somewhere on that line. I've chosen to use the center for my vanishing point. Your next step is to draw in the orthogonals, so creating 4 diagonal lines from the vanishing point to each of the 4 corners of the drawing. The next step is then to begin to outline the buildings. Using the orthogonal lines as your top and bottom of the building, you are going to use a ruler to draw the vertical lines from the top to the bottom to identify the different buildings that will be on that side. As well, notice as the buildings approach the vanishing point, they are starting to get smaller, as well as they are starting to get closer together as well. The next step is to begin adding details, so things like windows and doors. Be aware that all of the lines on the front-facing side of the drawing should also be converging to that vanishing point as well. So all of the lines should be parallel to one another and leading towards that vanishing point. Any lines that you no longer need can be lightly erased, as you can see the orthogonal lines that I have erased that I no longer will be using. Once that's done, you are ready to move on to the other side of the street. You may choose to use buildings, following the same technique as we've just done here, or what I've chosen to do is to incorporate trees. If you notice, the trees in the foreground are much larger and taller than the ones in the distance. Again, as they also approach the vanishing point, they are getting smaller and closer together as well. Next, we can begin adding other details, for instance, a sidewalk also traveling to the vanishing point, and the lines of the road. If you so choose, it doesn't necessarily have to be a road, it can also be some sort of a river or a stream that would be dividing the two sides of your drawing. The next step would be to add other details, so things that you might find in the sky, so things like clouds or birds. Again, being aware that as whatever items are approaching the vanishing point are much smaller in size and are closer together than the ones that are farther away. Once your drawing is complete, it's time to begin coloring using pencil crayons, so lightly tracing over the drawn images and erasing any of the pencil lines that are no longer necessary, and taking time to color in all of the details of the painting accordingly to be able to have your complete one-point perspective cityscape drawing.